Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about decimal, place value, and rounding. I'm glad to have you here today. One of the first things I like to do when I have to do lessons that involve decimal, place value, and rounding is establish the place values themselves. Okay? And so I've started with a decimal here because every number in the whole world has a decimal on the right side of the ones place. And I've labeled the places that you already know: the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, the thousands place, and the 10,000s place. I could continue to go on, but I'm going to stop there for this lesson. And then I want you to know that just as you have placed the tens place on the left side of the ones place, on the right side of the ones place is the 10th place. And it continues to repeat itself on this side, except for instead of being the hundreds place, it's the hundredths place. Okay? And we're going to continue that way. Instead of the thousand, it's going to be the thousandths. And instead of the 10,000s, it's going to be the 10,000ths. If you could start your lesson by labeling these place values, it will make your lesson a bit easier. So then, if I gave you a number like this, I spread it out for the place values. Wouldn't necessarily be spread out that far, but when you're practicing your lesson, you certainly could spread it out that far. Then it all depends. I'm going to write a little darker here for you. On what you're asked to round to. Let's suppose that you were asked to round this number to the nearest hundredth place. That means they want you to stop here by looking to this number. Okay? So this is where the number is going to start when I'm finished, stop when I'm finished, and this is the number that's going to determine that. Well, if you know how to round, you know that if this number is 4 and lower, this number will stay the same. But if this number is 5 or above, this number would climb up 1. Well, I can see that this number is 4 or lower, so I know that this is going to stay the same. So if I was rounding to the hundredth place, my number would just look like this. I would read the number 96. I would use the word and when I see the decimal, 43, and I would say the place that it stopped in, hundredths. I'm going to repeat that to you. Just read this number as it is, 96, when you see the decimal, and say this number as it is, 43, and say this place value, hundredths. Okay? That's not so bad. We'll try another one. Okay? Now, it depends on what your lesson asks you to do, but if it said, round this number to the nearest tenth place, first, I would need to identify which place is actually the 10th place, and then I need to look to the number to the right to determine what's going to happen to this number. And as you recall, I said if this number that we look to is 4 or less, this number will remain the same. And if this number is 5 or higher, this number will go up 1. I can see that this is higher than 5. So I'm going to raise this up 1. And my answer would look something like this. In order to read this number, I would read this exactly as I would read it if this weren't on there. 494. I say the word "and" for the decimal point. 9. And then what place am I in? The 10th place. Okay? And we could continue on like that. I'll give you a bigger number this time. Okay, suppose they told me in my directions, round this number to the nearest 10th, then round this number to the nearest 100th. I would do it twice. The first time, I would identify the 10th place and look to the number to the right to determine what to do, but I would know that the number in my answer is going to stop at the 10th place. And then the next time, I would identify the 100th place and look to the right. Okay? So when I round to the 10th, my number would look something like this. Actually, it would look exactly like this. I'm identifying the 10th place, looking to the right of it. That is higher than 5. That's going to go to a 4. And then to round it to the nearest 100th place, this is the 100th place. I have to look to the right of it. It's going to stay the same. I'm going to read it just as I would if it didn't have this on it to start with. 6,293. I'm going to say the word "and." 4. Remember, that falls in the 10th place. This one I'm going to read 6,293 and 37, and that falls in the 100th place. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.